Wow, how fitting over the recent Easter period. Apparently King of Kings now leads animation, as it just beat Prince of Egypt for the biggest opening for a biblical animation of all time. And yes, for those counting, that's a record that stood since 1998. So it's a big deal, and they've done it with none other than Charles Dickens, who, for those who didn't know, has been dead for the past 240 plus years. And yet still he has career accolades, I guess. And there I was thinking he peaked when the Muppets adapted him. Though weirdly, there is actually a key similarity between the Muppets Christmas Carol and King of Kings, but we'll get into that in a bit. But we'll start at least with the fact that this movie has been a big success, getting into the top 3 at the US box office. Minecraft, of course, still came out on top during its third weekend, because let's face it, nothing else can currently stand up to this absolute monster's path. But still, this movie from an independent animation studio currently holds $53 million at the box office and counting. It's still early days. And that is nothing to sniff at. This thing only cost $15 million to make, which funnily enough is the same price as Looney Tunes The Day the Earth Blew Up. The only difference in this case is that the movie was a success at $53 million, rather than Warner Brothers drowning the latter to a grand total of $11.6 million. Does the fact that it's a movie about Jesus coming out at Easter help? Yeah, that's absolutely what's happened here. But that was the idea. It is literally an Easter movie. I'm not going to call this movie out for releasing at Easter, much like I wouldn't call out a horror movie for coming out in Halloween. And fair play to them, to be honest, because we don't really have a lot of high-profile Easter movies out there. I mean, thinking in the past, the only ones I can really come up with in my head are the likes of Illumination's Hop, which still holds up as one of the worst movies they ever made, and as we now know, stars an actual criminal as a bunny. So, you know, I guess everything was kind of leaning in for them this season. But of course, when you take the high profile out of the equation, you'll soon learn that there are many Easter movies out there when you look for them, because there is a whole goldmine of low-budget religious production companies out there. In fact, it's no surprise really, there are tons of religious movies that come out every year. But they don't do this kind of business, which we're seeing with King of Kings here. But in fairness, they don't really need to. All of these similar genred movies are all made fairly low budget and make their money off of a very reliable audience base. It's a strong business model, but that doesn't mean that that is the limit of what a religious movie can be. Wherever you are beliefs-wise, I'm personally not that spiritual to be honest, you can definitely appreciate that the Bible is full of compelling stories that have influenced many of the stories that have followed it. Which is why every now and again we get something truly incredible in the form of DreamWorks' Prince of Egypt, for example. It's kind of weird to look back on now, when DreamWorks quickly became redefined by their post-Shrek activities, but that was very much the movie that showed that they were a studio that could do as well as Disney. That was the battle at the time to break Disney's monopoly of the animation industry. And weirdly, the King of Kings having success is perhaps a reflection of the animation industry's battle of today. That being smaller animation studios going up against the big tentpoles. Already this year, Flow from the Latvian studio Dreamwell take Best Animated Feature at the Oscars. We've seen other more indie animation take the YouTube and Netflix route like Glitch Productions, getting major virality and an outreach that perhaps wouldn't even be possible via the standard industry means. And now in this case, with King of Kings, we have Mofax Studios from South Korea. As with a lot of recent examples, they were otherwise a visual effects company. Founded in 1994, they have contributed to the visual effects of more than 250 films and are a leading company in that industry. They've also dabbled in animation before, but inevitably, this production that lends itself to the US market was a huge step for them, let alone getting Angel Studios involved, who specialize in religious releases in the US market. It's kind of important to have when you're a South Korean visual effects studio getting into that kind of business. And the solid decisions with this production didn't stop there, as they've got some serious talent involved with this as well. Hey there, you're halfway through the video, so you know what to do. Come subscribe. Thank you very much. I mean, for one, you've got Oscar Isaac as Jesus. This isn't just an international film that's gotten some attention over here. There are Western performers involved. Pierce Brosnan as Pontius Pilate, but this isn't a musical like Prince of Egypt, so don't worry there. We don't get those Mamma Mia vocals in there as far as I know. My personal favorite casting is, of course, Mark Hamill as King Herod. I'm just imagining Herod talking like the Joker. And the rogue character on this list, Kenneth Branagh as Charles Dickens. But yes, another big part that creatively sets this movie apart from other religious retellings is that this is is technically a Charles Dickens adaptation. The man already has a huge cultural stake in Christmas, and now he's after the rest of Christ's life story, apparently. It's certainly the element of the movie that has me the most interested, as it's just a different way to revisit this age-old story. Literally, it is ages old at this point. Because, just like the Muppet Christmas Carol, they have Charles Dickens himself in the movie, telling the story. It even starts with him reciting Christmas Carol at a theater, just to clue everyone in on who he is. But this time it's played by Kenneth Branagh, rather than Gonzo the Great. Having grown up with a guy narrating Walking with Dinosaurs, having Kenneth Branagh narrate this just kinda makes sense. It's what the guy's made for, besides long-ass Shakespearean movies I've never had the patience to watch. Adapted from Dickens' Life of Our Lord, the movie is quite simply the famous writer's recounting of the life of Jesus. And critically, it's leaning positive, but also pretty mixed by the looks of things. It's currently standing at a 65% on Rotten Tomatoes, which means it's fresh but not rotten, but only just. However, unsurprisingly, its audience score is a whopping 95%, which is just yet another win for the distribution choices for this movie. They knew they were going to be getting a big audience who'd appreciate this movie in the North American market, and that's exactly what they've gotten out of this. Some of the movies that are very much my jam have a similarly mixed critic rating because not everything's gonna be for everyone, including those professionally reviewing films. But the real question is, will this movie have legs beyond the past weekend and this week? Because to be honest, I'm not so sure, because this feels like it was tailor-made very specifically for that Easter weekend, which has now been and gone. Like a lot of successful movie strategies right now, it made itself an event tied to a major holiday. And even then, Minecraft is still the one absolutely bulldozing everyone else with no signs of really slowing down. That movie is absolutely heading towards a billion-dollar landmark with a billion wrecked cinemas in its wake, one chicken jockey at a time. However, respect to Charles Dickens for getting his Bible story through the mix in the wakes of this absolute juggernaut. Plus, it's a $15 million budgeted movie that's already made $53 million and counting. I think they could close up shop now and still celebrate a huge win, not even including the fact that it will possibly get another wave in exactly 12 months' time. I hope that with this and Flow winning Best Picture only encourages more non-mainstream releases to get these kind of projects made. Whilst not quite King of Kings numbers, Flow still ended up making $36 million on just a $3.7 million budget. It made 10 times what it cost, which is crazy. As the big studios only increase their outsourcing of animation and visual effects, leading small houses like Jellyfish Pictures to shutting down, I celebrate any of these production houses doing their own thing and having success outside of the system of the big corporations, even if it has to come from the most prominent visual effects house in South Korea. I mean, Weta from New Zealand is a huge name in visual effects, and I'd still consider their self-produced movies as the underdog. Not far from that tree, Weta alumni Andy Serkis has independently produced a new animation of George Orwell's Animal Farm with production company The Imaginarium, because apparently this year is the year of independently produced adaptations of classic authors. And you know what? I don't think I hate that. I'm guessing both are in the public domain now, so that kind of helps the budget saving side of things. It's getting a theatrical release, but they haven't announced a distributor yet, giving us yet another example of an animated movie that's being completely self-produced. It just feels like we're at a turning point in animation now, which is unsurprising now that we're officially past 20 years into YouTube, where again, creators have had more tools than ever to make incredible stuff on less expensive resources. The internet generation are now the professionals, and it's beginning to show in the wider industry. So here's to more of those production houses taking things into their own hands, where they're not taken advantage of by bigger studios. We love to see it. And hey, if there's ever a direct connection to kind of make, being more grounded and less corporate sounds very much like the teachings of the life of the man at the center of the King of Kings. What a thematic Easter we've had this year. For now though, I'll be ending things off there. My name's been Daz, thank you very much for reaching the end of this video. Let me know your thoughts on King of Kings if you've seen it or anything. And I shall see you all in a little bit. Bye bye!